prepped. Let me get a little closer to the mic. We try to get ourselves prepped so that we can share all the stuff with our everything that we got going on. So I take a few minutes to kind of, if there's any kind of ad lib questions or whatever before we actually get into the content of things. So I'll give us a few minutes. So if you're early, I'm early. Let's be early together. Let's do this fun stuff, man. It's going to be an exciting day. Exciting half an hour. We keep it compact, man. I know we go long sometimes on the podcast, but we're trying to keep it compact so that we don't waste your time, man. Your time is critically important to you, and it's something that you can't get back. So we try to be on time, on point, and get you out of here in half an hour and get you motivated enough to where you want to go, virtually kick in the doors of your dreams and go ahead and take that bag. So as I said in some of my other podcasts and posts and things like that, I'm dropping jewels, man. So make sure you got something handy with you to write it down, and make sure you bring your security guard, man, because you walking away with this kind of information, you might want, people may want to get at you. So you make sure that you got a security guard, you got somebody looking out for you, and then we can move on. So let me share this with my regular Facebook group, my regular Facebook page. So I usually just go ahead and once I go live, I'll share it so you guys can see it, share, and do all this good stuff to get everybody going. Let's see here. And we just doing this for some time with people, maybe for the replay or whatever. But it's just something that we should do. And then once we do that and we get ready to start this thing, and then we get it going. So my lighting is not great. I'm working on that. It's cool. It's coming from up here, but I need another light that comes from the front. And you guys understand what I mean. And those who are in media, I know you're gonna roast me for it, so it's all good. I'm ready for it. Bring it on. Come get me. Let me move the camera a little bit closer. I feel like I'm not intimate with you guys, so that gets me a little bit more intimate with you guys. So what's been good? Yeah, I know we skipped last week, man. Had some children situations going on, and I really couldn't get at you guys. But as always, man, I'm gonna come back, man. I remember those days of I got a picture, and I'll show you guys, man. It was from '93. It was me and my relative. We was out there getting it, and it was one of the very few pictures that we do have, because I don't have a lot of pictures from the game. A lot of cats got a lot of pictures, Polaroids, all that stuff. I just never was one to believe in that. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't want the evidence. I didn't want to be on TV and them, oh, look at all this stuff. Nah. So that wasn't me. But my brother sent me a picture of us in the spot in '93, man. I remember that. That was around the time of '93 drought. Anybody remember the '93 drought in like Southern California? Because we were in Victorville at that time in Apple Valley. You remember there was nothing. I mean, nobody. And if you were a hustler that depended on that, there was nothing. There was nothing to hustle from. You couldn't, everybody, now just switch to weed. Yeah, you could try to switch to weed, but there was nothing. Like, you could buy some weed, but the people that wanted the work. They wouldn't all of a sudden saying, you know what, I'm going to go from smoking rocks to smoking blunts. That didn't happen. So during that '93 drought, man, we were struggling. I mean, struggling, and they were leading us on every day, and we survived. We was getting, wherever we could find it. Somebody would say, oh, I got the hook, I know where to get it. And it was like $230, $250 a quarter piece, and that was like $1,000 an ounce. Hard, not even powder or anything like that. I ain't telling fairy tales on this one, dog. I'm telling you guys some real stories on this. So anybody remember '93 drought? It was real. It was really real. And if you was any type of hustler, you weren't making any money. Some cats, had a line on it. As soon as you get them, either it was supremely smashed, or by the time you got to them, it was gone. Or the ticket, oh, man, and they start playing games with you. Oh, tomorrow, homie. Oh, tomorrow, homie. It used to drive us crazy. So, which leads me to what we're talking about today. How do you operate with less? How do you do more with less? And that's the conversation that we're going to have today. And we're going to talk about that, right? How do you do? And it all stems from my time when I went to Zappos. If anybody's familiar with Zappos, which is Tony Hsieh, or it used to be Tony Hsieh's company. and it's headquartered in Las Vegas. And when you go, you can do a tour, and it's pretty slick, man. So anytime you're trying to figure out about company culture, anything of that nature, you're usually, I would suggest you actually going to take that Zappos tour once COVID clears up or whatever the case, because it's hot, man. It was one of the things that I didn't know Vegas had to offer. Looked it up online, went and I read the book first called Delivering. I think it's Delivering Happiness or something like that. And when I looked, I saw that shirt. It said "Do more with less," and it basically had the. Let me see if I could do a text on the screen. No, that's all right. I ain't gonna do that. But it basically what it had was it had DOMREWTHLSS, and which is the title of this actual weekly tap in. And it basically how you still operate it, you can still get your message across, even the fact that you're missing letters, right? So one thing about it is launching, right? So when we're talking about business, right, everybody wants to wait for this perfect ideal time that they think is going to happen. And I don't know why everybody, it's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be set up. The bank's going to be set up. Everything's going to be boom, bam, bam. And you're going to be able to launch. And that's never the case. There's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to leave your job. There's never a perfect time to do any of that, right? There's signs that lead you up to that point, but there's never a perfect time, right? So we always want this perfection. We always are looking and striving for all these things. We need more in order to move, right? And a lot of times that starts to become a crutch for us, right? Because then we stop moving because we need this. Well, I need a business front. I need to get a building. I need to do all these things. I need to get a business. Like, man, no, you don't. You need to figure out whether the product will sell or not. First of all, don't worry about getting in trouble before you get it out the gate. A lot of times you could spend $100,000 with an attorney and your idea is trash because you didn't test the market. And one of the things they teach you in marketing is test your market. See if it actually works. We're coming up on our 6th anniversary of Hair Livery, which is our hair company, 6 years. And it all started with an idea of saying, hey, you know what? Females don't like traffic. They don't like this rude service that people are providing at current levels of whatever. So let's see if we can challenge this whole operation. And we did that. And we're coming up on 6 years, and we didn't have it all. We didn't have the inventory. We didn't have a storefront. We didn't even have a phone number. We got our phone number from Google. It's a Google number, and it's still a Google number. Like, we still don't have a phone number. And a lot of people don't understand that. And they're saying, well, I need a phone number. I need to get this. I got to call the cable company. I got to do this. You creating a lot more than you should. Test your idea first. See if it's actually even worth your time. See if people are willing to respond positively towards what your offer is, right? And that's the whole concept of doing more with less. We didn't have anything. All we had was a small ass budget and got some hair and an idea. And I designed a rinky dink website online. I just built it myself, put up some pictures, put up a PayPal buttons, and I was rolling. And we started. My wife would answer the phone while I was at work, would text me to say, hey, can you do a delivery between this time and this time? And that's how we got that show rolling. Now we're 90, almost 100 positive reviews on Yelp. We're almost at a 5-star. We're 4.5 stars on Yelp, right? All started with an idea. We didn't have the biggest, best budget. We didn't have that Maven hair investors, right? A lot of these companies are getting this buku money from these companies, right? But has your idea really been tested? Has it stood the test of time, competition, time, right? Lows, highs. We've been through all that, right? Let's take it back to the pen, right? When we go to the pen, what do we have? Nothing, right? And some of us crumble under that same pressure, but a lot of us don't. A lot of us, what we do is we get better. We get better with time, right? We get better without, right? We take things away, right? You guys have heard of the minimalist style, right? Where we taking things away, we have less things. And that's what we're kind of doing with our bedroom. We're taking things out of here. We don't need more stuff. Hence the reason why storage companies are doing well. You look at one of the companies that's doing really well on stock markets, storage companies. Why? Because people buy too much stuff. We have way too much stuff when we think we need more than we actually do to function and operate, right? And we haven't checked ourselves to say, what is the bare minimum that we actually need to function and operate? because this is what it's going to take for us to move on, right? Because there is not going to be, and if you do have a rich uncle, as they say, a rich uncle or whatever, cool. But the average person doesn't have that, and we need to test it. We need to get out there, right? We need to go try it out first. We don't need to have everything, right? Let's talk about when we were slaves, right? Since everybody wants to talk about then, we didn't have anything, but we learned how to cook meals out of some of the worst parts of the animal, right? We did more with less and we still maintain, which probably they talk about us having high blood pressure, but my grandparents were in their 80s, right? High 80s. And they didn't die of hypertension or anything like that. And they ate soul food meals. Basically, my grandmother's kitchen was a soul food kitchen, right? Because pork chops, chili, spaghetti, um, uh, 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 beef roast, greens, you name it, right? Baked chicken, fried chicken, and they lived up into their 80s. So these diets that they ultimately were supposed to hurt us helped us, right? So do you need that? In the past, I referred you guys to a book called Small Giants by Bo Burlington. And it talks about all these companies that are really small but do massive things, right? And you can do the same thing. We don't need everything, right? You got to work with the package that you have, right? You may have been dealt a hand that you think is trash, right? All hearts, right? In the spades game, you don't got one spade. But if you do it right, if you watch everything play at the end, if you're leading, you could run those hearts because nobody can challenge you because everybody played out. So there's a way to do everything. You think that this hand is going to be, oh, ultimately I'm done, right? And you're saying I don't have enough. And the thing about us, right? So let's look at the hair thing. Right now, we're dealing with COVID. How many of these companies had solely relied on in-store operations, right? And then the rug got pulled up from under them, right? And now everybody wants to do delivery. We've been doing delivery for 6 years. We're pretty good at it. We know how to do customer service. We know what you need. We know what to bring. We bring extra this. Everything is, you like, man, once you finish, you're like, okay, somebody finally knows how to do this thing the right way. Because so many people think that they need employees. You need I need all this. You don't need all that. And the more you understand that business is going from brick and mortar, which is brick and mortar still pops. Don't get me wrong. We still like walking in stores, but a lot of things are becoming virtual and online, and we're able to satisfy that. When's the last time you actually went to a store and bought something? I went to Best Buy the other day and felt weird walking in there. It's like, man, I haven't done this in probably 6 months. Going in here, buying something physically. Everything is, I'll look online. You have it in store. I'll go ahead and look at the review, and I'm going to go in there and pick it up. On online pickup, I don't even want to stand in line anymore. So things are changing, and we need to shift with those things, right? Generation Zs, they're minimalists. They don't like a lot of stuff, so they've already adapted to the do more with less. It's us, Generation X, baby boomers, right? Baby boomers were the consumption age, right? They wanted to consume. Let's get the house, let's get the boat, let's get this, let's get that, let's get the RV, right? Consumption. Now Generation X is just like, yeah, let us use it whenever you guys are done with it. But then you have the generations that are following us who are way more frugal, right? Who are saying, I don't want to own that. I don't want that problem. I would rather have access to it rather than control, hold, be responsible for the insurance. So things are changing, things are shifting, and we need to be aware of these things, right? So what more do you need? Same thing with Med Tours LA. We did the same thing. We started out from the most minimum level. I started out in my Camry, in my Toyota Camry, read about this guy up north, and I think it was a Yahoo. Somebody forwarded GG Sweets, now DJ. Shout out to GG Sweets. She had put it on Facebook, and I read the article. I was like, man, dude did this in his Camry? For real? So once I saw that, and they was like, yeah, he made $1 million. I'm like, damn, in the Camry? And this is at the time I'm like, okay, I need to be doing something else. The hair was popping, but my mom was starting to help, and I needed something else to fulfill my time. So I'm like, man, okay. And I was already doing a delivery. I had a dispensary that was a delivery service before all the laws changed. So once I did that, I'm like, man, okay, I know where everything is. I know the city. Let me do it. And I started out in my Camry, and like my first clients were tripping because they were like, dude, is this your personal car? I'm like, yeah. And they go, oh. And they were just like, and this is, hey, man, You got to, there was a cat, man. Shout out to Corey Jackson, man. He just got elected to I think the Board of Education in Moreno Valley. So yeah, he always would say this, man. Do what you can right where you are. I think it was a Teddy Roosevelt quote, but I just wanted to give a shout out to my boy Corey for winning that election. All right, homeboy, I see you. But he would always talk about that. Do what you can right where you are right now. Like, what do you have? You're going to wait for something. You're going to wait for it to be a better time. You're going to wait for something to fall in your lap before you make a move. No, you know what I mean? Once it's on your mind, once it's on your heart, take some steps. God's going to start to take them with you, right? It's going to be a dance, but you got to start taking steps at the same time. And when you don't, that's where doubt and hesitation starts to come in, right? Why am I? Oh, I need this. Oh, I need this. I need to get straight A's. Man, you'd be surprised, right? Ask anyways. One of the things I always tell my students in my sales class, I said, start practicing to ask. What does that mean, Professor Cofield? Start asking people for discounts. Every time you go somewhere, start to ask 10%. Can I use your discount? Just go ahead and type that code in, homeboy. You know what I'm saying? But asking, getting into the practice of asking, because we hesitate a lot on that because we're thinking, oh man, they're going to say no. Well, what if they say yes? You in 10, yeah, let me go ahead and give you my discount. And I actually get 25%. Go ahead, plug that in, player. Appreciate it, right? But we're always hesitant on asking, is there anything else you can add in there? Is there anything else you can do for me? Is there anything else, right? I'm reading the book, Negotiate How, was it by Chris? I think it's Negotiate Like Your Life Depends on It. But it's called something else. But what's it called? Can't think off the top of my head, but it's something like that. And it basically taught me how everything is negotiable. So whenever somebody comes at me with an offer, hey man, can you do this? Let me think about how I can not necessarily manipulate that, because if I want to do it, I'm going to do it. But if there's something that's going to cost me and I need something, let's see if I can negotiate that. Or if I feel like you're undervaluing my my abilities, then let's negotiate this, right? How bad do you want it? I got approached for another job at another college and they wanted me to do something, right? And it was like, okay, so what's the compensation? And I'm basically asking them, how much is this worth to you? Right? Not being funny or anything like that, but how serious is this project? Because the dollar amount's going to dictate that. Because if you want to take me away from something that I'm doing, particularly my family, then it better be worth it so that I can take them to Disneyland or whenever that opens later, right? But I can't compensate it if you sit up there, I don't know what we're going to pay you, then it's not that serious to you. So you're not going to take it that serious. Thank you, but no thank you, professionally. And you have to do things like that. You have to be willing to walk away if it's not going to add any type of value to your life, add any type of weight to your resume, or add any type of reciprocity to your potential career. And what I mean by that is that is the person that you're going to help, can they help you later? And you don't want to look at things like that, but everything should be mutual, even in relationships or whatever the case may be. There should be a mutual exchange. I don't care if it's comedy. There still should be a mutual exchange. So when you start to think about some of your relationships, hey, are they potentially giving you something or not? Right. And then you start to think about your time, your free time, right? What is that worth to you? And I thought about that, and that's worth a lot to me, right? So when I used to get frustrated, and I don't know how many of you guys actually deal with this, but feel me on this one. When you become somewhat of a workaholic, and I don't want to call myself a workaholic because I don't think I was at that point. But when you get to a point to where you're working so much, right, that you feel like downtime is, or when you're doing nothing is a bad thing, right? You feel guilty. If I'm not working out, I feel guilty. Okay, I could squeeze 50 kettlebells into here, and I could do this. I should be writing my paper. I should be studying for the GMAT or whatever. And you always are trying to fill that time, right? You feel like, oh man, sometimes it's cool to do less. That's when you come up with the most robust ideas, right? When you're not thinking about it, when you're somewhere exotic or doing something with the kids, you may be playing soccer or whatever, and it just comes to you because you're not giving it that kind of attention. You've given it to the universe and you kind of walked away from it, but now you've trusted it, right? Because when you put your feelers out there, or you put your idea or your whatever your dream is out there in the universe, right? But you're constantly watching it, like that pot, that pot of water. You're just sitting there watching it. Okay, you gonna boil, homie, or what? And the same thing holds true with God, right? God's like that mechanic where he's like, let me work on you under your hood, but I don't need you standing over me. Why don't you go get a beer or a soda or some chips, dog? Or go fly. What'd you say you wanted to do again? Okay, go do that while I go work on this. And that's kind of what we need to be doing. We don't need to be monitoring our dream. I see people hustling. One thing I see is the push, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get the push. I get the push on social media. I get the push that you just discovered it's a new idea. I get the push that because I do it sometimes too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I don't do these things, but at the same time, sometimes you got to take it easy with people. Like I've seen people who are just joining a lot of these programs, and it's like that's all you talking. You don't even talk regularly anymore. Everything's around this. And I understand income is tight now. I get that. But you guys got to be careful and sensitive to relationships that you have, right? So do less. People know what you're up to. You don't have to keep telling them, right? I don't have to keep talking about we got tours this weekend. We got tours this weekend. You can maybe see me talk about it every once in a while. But I don't have to keep reminding you that we got tours going on. We have tours going on. You guys should know that by now. So if you do want to holler at me, you know I got a bus. You know how many people are hoes because you can look through my Facebook page and see it. You can see it from scratch, right? But I can do less. I don't have to do that. I don't have to put myself out there. I remember that in cars, man. I used to think that I had to put everything into these vehicles because it was going to help me, right? Put the big ass rims on it, the big giant chrome ones, the huge ones. When you go into the store, like, nah, no, you want these? Nah, give me the big dogs, man. What's the biggest size you carry? That was the kind of conversations that we were having. What's the biggest size we can get to put on here? Oh, you can get these. Okay, give me those. And I'm not hating or anything like that, but what are we doing it for? Right? We're doing it for the lack of, right? We're doing it because there's some type of deficit somewhere. And I got to the point I washed my car in a week, and it doesn't matter to me. I'm content with who I am. True enough, I should be probably washing my car, but at the same time, it's not like that anymore. I have the girl I want. I have the kids I want. I have the place I want. I live in the city I want. As far as I'm concerned, the game is pretty much done. I won, according to me and my standards. Doesn't matter. I was talking to my wife about that today. I'm like, man, what more do we need? I said, what? The refrigerator full of neatly organized Avion water, or like the stars do, in the big empty spaces. That's about it. And then I guess and the Teslas outside and the twin BM, whatever these that want the criteria is for being wealthy in LA. The black cars outside, the twins, yeah, that's all we're missing. But outside of that, we have everything else. And once you start to adopt these types of attitudes in terms of, I guess it's considered a minimalist approach, or I would say it's more or less a appreciation approach, right? Appreciating what you have, appreciating what you're starting with, appreciate your starting point. Because I've seen, you see the president or whatever he's called, he's miserable. He doesn't want to still be president. He's miserable. And he's spoiled because there's nothing more you can give him. You gave him everything, including the presidency. And when you give somebody a spoiled brat everything, including the best present, they don't put any respect on it. So sometimes it's a lot better to not have everything, to start with humble beginnings, right? To tell a Jeff Bezos story, right? Where you're sitting in that little ass room with Amazon spray painted on the wall, and the next thing you know, your shares are worth $3,000 a share. That's the kind of story you want. And it doesn't start with silver spoons, homie. So we've learned, we've adapted, we've adjusted. We've come from nothing, right? We've come from struggle. We've come from the minimalists. We've come from redlining, right? With these pads and these houses. We've come from segregation. We've come from all that. We still getting discriminated on in school. These chicken shit ass professors and teachers, right? A lot of them are still doing that stuff subtly, right? You don't even know that. And I was talking to one of my brothers last night. The kids don't even know what's happening to them. And they don't even know how to articulate it to explain it to us so that we can go check the teacher. So that means that we have to be involved to an umpteenth degree. So the fact that we're at home now, we can see this a lot more, right? We can get a little bit more involved. So a lot of times when we think we're taking a step back, we're taking 3 steps forward. Do more with less. You have to. Why not? It'll get you started faster. Do more with more. Of course you can. That's not a story though. That's not inspiring. That's not something that people want to write about. You interested in reading the Donald Trump rich story? Hey, he was rich and he became a little richer. Yeah, that's really inspiring, right? Who would want to read that besides somebody in those same shoes, which is very far and few in between. The average person wants to read about your struggle because they know that that's a relatable point. We're all starting from scratch. We're all starting from nothing, hopefully. And then once we get that success, man, it is so tasty that we tell people the recipe. And then it starts to get spread around, right? Like a really good soul food cornbread recipe, right? That everybody, man, let me pass this around. But a lot of people say, oh man, I know how to do it, whatever the case may be. But at the same time, we still pass it around, show how we can do it, right? We really helpful. We got that village mentality. That's where we come from. That's why people always say, man, it takes a village, man. It really does. Talking to my wife about that today. But when you have less, right, or you feel like you have less, the village concept becomes more and more important. And the reason being is because this is how trade began, right? I have what I have, but I can share. I have so much of what I have that I could share it with you because you have so much of what you have, you can share it with me. Now we have an exchange, right? A couple more people come to that exchange. We got a marketplace. And this is kind of where, when you talk about trade, that's why they still talk about fair trade and all this stuff, because that's how it started. Money were just notes and, hey, I promised this and that, and just was backed up by gold. Just promises, just tenders, legal tenders. That's it. But the value came in the trading of the product, right? And people didn't have everything. I may not have the big house, but I got 100 goats back here. I could trade you these goats, man, if you let me get some of those chickens, right? And that's kind of how it. Watch The Black Godfather. If you guys, I told you guys before, but I'll tell you again. Watch The Black Godfather, because when you watch that movie, you're gonna see the importance of not only relationships, but importance of leveraging those relationships of who you know, and the importance of doing favors for people. Because he didn't have everything, but what he did have, he took advantage of what he did have, which was relationships with people. And once you start one, you can leverage that into 3 or 4. Just depends on how you do it. But your intentions have to be pure. Let me go ahead and stress that. Foul intentions are going to give you foul results. I'm just telling you, no matter how you do it. Shout out to my boy Angelo, who told me, man, hey, D, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. So when I was up there, I was in Wasco, and we was playing chess, and I had my little paper down next to us. Talking about, man, I'm about 4.5. I'm gonna flip that. It's gonna take me a couple flips, and I'm gonna get up to the Nina. And I was just had this stuff all written down. So it just kept my mind occupied because I was still, like my partner Rom says, I was chasing this ghost. And the ghost was that D-boy who just got caught up, right? Was just in the pen for a minute. And once he got back on the streets, he was going to run back into the swing of things, which is a massive illusion, right? So anybody who's talking like that, if you got some people in the pen who are talking like that, it's a massive illusion, right? Try to let them know, man, maybe make some plan Bs, because you trying to get in, it's like trying to hop on a merry-go-round that's going 100 miles an hour, right? You're going to get banked, right? Or you're going to get so spun so fast and dizzy that you ain't going to be able to handle it. So just FYI, shout out to the homeboy Rome for giving me that guidance on that, though. But yeah, I was chasing a ghost, and he told me, hey, D, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. So even if your intentions are right, it's not going to come. I mean, even if you think you're right, you're not hurting anybody. The fact that you're dealing with the D and it's not right, I was like, man, I hear you. And I still went out and tried, and it was an illusion. Still, the plug weren't the same, tickets weren't the same, clientele wasn't the same, nothing was the same. And it was tragic. And it gave me the more and more reason to get out the game. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm not going to go and try to stretch myself and try to figure out and get involved in the new game, because they was dealing with Crystal, and I was like, man, that's not my speed. I mean, we YOLO boys, and that was what we did. You know what I'm saying? But that was what was going on, and the other homies doing paper crimes, and I said, man, I didn't sign up for this, right? This is what I ain't up to, and this is where my plugs were, so I got to go on the search, and here I am starting from scratch again. Am I willing to give the game another set of my 10 years or whatever, however long I was in the game at that time? Am I willing for them to do this? And I'm like, nah, you know what I mean? The rest of this time that I'm going to give to my family. And that's when I walked away and I did more with less. Didn't cash out, didn't take nothing from the game. All that stuff was foul. All that stuff was dirty money. All that stuff was just wrong intention. Didn't take nothing away from the game but experiences. And I still got relationships and friends who are hopefully tapping into this weekly tap in and picking up some of this game, right? Because even when we were talking, some of the older homies, game recognized game, man. You could tell I was seasoned differently, right? I hung around some different cats at a younger age, and I just had a different insight on different things. That's why a lot of older cats would hate on me when I was in the game, but a lot of older cats would love me at the same time because they would respect the game. They see all themselves in me, like, oh, you're young, yeah, one of those cats. But the rest of these dudes is hating. Oh, look at this little, yeah, man. But you learn and you get older and you know what to do and how to handle them. So forth and so on. But yeah, man. So that's my spiel on, you know, what to do with less and how to still make that move. You know, I can show you setup. You know, we basically bought GoDaddy. You can start with GoDaddy and look your domain name up, right? If you want to, let's see. I always want to give you guys game, man. I just love doing that. And we'll go with the new tab. And let's see, GoDaddy. You could do a lookup and just figure out what you want to do, and it starts right there. And it's relatively cheap. I'm trying to share the screen with you guys. Show in stream. Make myself tiny. There you go. So we over here, and whatever you want to do, you could just look up the domain names. You can search domain names. Get my chocolate. You wanted to sell chocolates, get my chocolate. Is that getmychocolate.com? Let's see. I don't think I spelled chocolate right, so it's probably available. Yeah, chocolate. Let's see. I'm just showing you guys getmychocolate.com. Oh, getmychocolate.com is available. So if you say, for instance, you just wanted to set up, so it's $11, $11.99 for the first year, right? And you can go on Square. Let's see. Square website pricing. I'm just like basic stuff, man. You just start with what you have, man, and pricing, plan, and features. There you go. And then you start to do the math and say, well, how much money do I have? Do I need to start a business with $1,000 bucks? I don't know yet. So do you just look at the most popular plan? Let's see, what is it? 3% of transaction fees. So, or $18 a month. So that's $18. And this is what, $11 for the first year. So that's $29, $30. You pretty much have your website and your business name right there for basically $29, right? And we can go on. And then if you wanted to go get a fictitious business name, it's another $26. You still under $100, and you got the majority. If you already have the product or whatever, or if you have access to the product, you're already halfway started, dog. And I'm just trying to show you guys, man, how to get started and make a move with nothing, with basically nothing, with an idea. Join us next week for the weekly tap in, man. I'm glad you guys tapped in with me this week. Don't forget, man, like the podcast, share it. Make sure you leave a review. The reviews are critically important to us. God bless you guys, and I wish you guys well. And always remember, you can do more with less.